Yes.
Public hearing is now closed. Commissioner from the 8th District, this is inside of your district. Would you like to start and make a motion?
Yes, Mr. Vice Chair, thank you for the recognition and for the floor. I want to start by thanking all of the residents of Miami-Dade County for coming out here and sharing your testimony, both in favor and against this application. This application has stirred quite a lot of interest and communication and social media posts and a lot of focus on this application. So I have done my level best to sit here and listen to every single one of you because I make my decisions here as I sit here and after I listen to our residents, never before. And I've taken notes on a lot of what you all have said, and I thank the applicant for the presentation. And I have the red folder, so thank you for the red folder. I've gone through it. I really appreciate when my residents organize, and we've had applications at this body in the past where in different parts of my district, my residents have organized and come out in very, very overwhelming opposition to projects. And I do the same thing. I sit here and I thank my colleagues as well for sitting here and listening to all of you as you share your concerns about this project and your favorability for this project. I do also want to thank the unions because it's not often that we see unions show up and support the Miami FOP. And to be clear, that's the City of Miami Fraternal Order of Police, AFSCME, and the United Teachers of Dade. I have a letter here dated just a few days ago saying, we urge the Miami-Dade Board of County Commissioners to help our workforce by approving the Bluenest project. These initiatives will not only benefit our education professionals, but also the students and families they touch every day. And there's additional language, but I appreciate all of the unions for coming today. So this is not an easy decision for me because anytime my residents show up in such strong opposition to a project, it really makes me pay very, very close attention. And so there are a number of questions that I want to make very clear on the record, all of which have been stated in different portions throughout the testimony that was given by our residents. But I think it's important for my colleagues as we analyze this particular application. This 3E, the one that's before us now, is it to the administration or to the applicant? How far away from our busway is this particular parcel, the eastmost corner, or the majority of the parcel?
So I can address it. There are portions of our site that are within a quarter mile of the busway, and 22 acres of our site are within half a mile of the busway.
And within that area, and we've had many applications in front of us in the past that are in this kind of geographic range, to the administration, the applicant presented that they, under our smart corridor overlay, could build upwards of 1,800 units on this parcel. Is that accurate to the administration?
Yes, Commissioner. Jerry Bell, Assistant Director for Planning. 22 acres approximately are within, as noted, within the half mile of the smart plan corridor, and on that portion they could build up to 825 units without an amendment to the CDMP by going to the zoning.
And they're proposing how many?
They
here
are
today?
proposing 284.
Okay. Planning Advisory Board, what is their recommendation?
The Planning Advisory Board recommended adopt as requested by the applicant and with the proper declaration of restrictions.
To the administration, what is the staff's recommendation?
Staff's recommendation is to adopt with change and with the acceptance of the proper declaration of restrictions. The change is to add 2.21 acres that are, and those are not part of the declaration of restrictions, but to add 2.21 acres in order not to create an enclave, and instead of going to low and to redesignate the property instead to low density with one density increase, and that would allow them the same number of units while also providing some further measures to ensure compatibility with the surrounding area.
So the staff's recommendation is to adopt with the
change.
proffered covenant and with the changes?
Correct.
And the parcel of land is well inside the UDB?
Yes, it is.
So to my residents, I struggle with this because while I recognize that we don't want changes to our neighborhood, and I recognize that, especially the family that just moved into their property a year ago and they appreciate agriculture being across the street from their home, I struggle with this because I think Mr. Gassant is right when he says that a lot of the residents bought their homes many, many years ago at a price that was then affordable. And so they have had the ability to enjoy living in their homes for many years and inflation and been able to build this generational wealth that our residents are so foreclosed from having the ability to do right now. And I'll tell you, if this application was for rent, there's no way that I would even remotely consider it. But since sitting here on this dais, I have had a very difficult time ever seeing affordable properties for sale being offered as a product. They're almost always for rent units. So here, they're not for rent. It's not 800 units per acre, and it's within a quarter mile of the busway, and yet still so much opposition, yet still so much, don't build this, don't accept this application. It really makes me wonder, why are we so opposed to our teachers, our law enforcement professionals, our county workers, our children who are graduating from school with postgraduate degrees and can't afford the median home price in this county, which is currently at $600,000. I don't understand why we're not welcoming of new neighbors. And again, this is a workforce product. Workforce in Miami-Dade County, I think, is at $400,000. This is not like Section 8. This is not like extra low income. $400,000 is still a hefty price tag for a lot of families to afford, and yet we're still in such strong opposition. It makes me wonder why we are not more open-minded and open-hearted to welcoming new neighbors into our community when the alternative could be so much worse. By right, under our current CDMP, 800 units for rent could be built on this site. This product is nowhere near that. And so when I think about the people who are not here, when I think about the people who are working, and these are not people that are moving into our county. These are people who live in our county. These are adults who still live at home with mom and dad because they can't afford a place to live. These are young professionals that are lawyers that work for our state attorney's office that can't afford a place to live. Our nurses that don't have a place to call home because they can't afford it. I feel as though this is a good thing for our community. And so I am known on this dais by my colleagues to shut down applications in my district when my residents are not supportive of it. That is my history. My colleagues criticize me for it. They're like, Commissioner, you have to support some of these applications. You can't say no as frequently as you do. But here, I am not convinced that this is not a good offering for our community. I feel like this strikes the balance that we need in Miami-Dade County to plan for the future. And listen, to the applicant, and this is a very important question, and the answer to this may honestly determine how I vote on this, but I ask every applicant to meet with the neighbors because I strongly believe that even though they don't own this property, this is not their 22 acres, it's in their community where they're born and raised and where they're raising their children, and it's incumbent upon us to be good neighbors. And so did you meet with the neighbors? Have you met with the residents of this community?
We met twice.
You met twice. Okay. I appreciate that. This morning I went online and I went to realtor.com and I said, let me take a look myself on what is the inventory that's available in Miami-Dade County for sale within this price point. And I challenge anyone to do this because I printed out the outcome, and I'm not going to give you a ton of them, but I had a number of our residents say, well, there's inventory. But I want to show you the inventory that's available for sale in Miami-Dade County right now. Here we have a $319,000 home. It's 915 square feet, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. I mean, maybe you want to buy that one. I'm not really sure. We have going for 264,000. It's 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, 656 square feet. I don't know, maybe you want to buy that one. This one is 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. I mean, it goes on and on. When I look for inventory in our county for sale, not for rent, there's not a lot of them. And again, to our residents that are in opposition, this is inventory for your family. This is inventory for your children that are graduating college. This is inventory for your families as well. And so I'm still perplexed. And even the visual of the aesthetics of the product is a farm style, which I appreciate because it's not a terracotta ceiling that is kind of west of our county and that kind of design that's very prevalent there. So it's difficult for me to kind of bridge the gap where we are right now. And to the applicant, another question that is important to me, because again, if this was for rent, it would not be considered by me. I would be a hard no. You tout workforce housing, but the application that is before us is only 20% workforce housing. That to me is wholly insufficient. I'm here to help allow our young professionals, our police officers, nurses, to be able to have access to the American dream, i.e. access to home ownership. 20% is insufficient. So I need you to increase that percentage as much as you can on this for it to make sense for me.
Okay. May I have some time to speak to my...
I understand that the economics need to work out. There are fees, there are development costs, et cetera. But your main pitch in your opening was the need for workforce housing in this county. 20% is appreciated, but I also feel like it's insufficient.
May I have some time to speak to my client?
2 minutes.
So Commissioner, I've talked to the clients. What the client is willing to do is to sell 100% of the units at the workforce housing sales price and keep 20% of the units income restricted.
Say that one more time.
The client is willing to sell all of the townhome units on the property at the workforce housing sales price and then have 20% of those units be income restricted.
Okay, I appreciate that. And you know, the neighbors may not like that even more, right? They may say, we would prefer them to be a higher value. And so this is where we always find ourselves in a difficult position. But again, I do feel like we need to allow access to that American dream to as many of our residents as possible. And the way that our county is moving, so many of our residents are priced out of paradise. And it's something that I think we're all familiar with. You know, last year we did the Dreams Home Lottery program. There were only 2 units that were for sale in my district under the workforce housing cap. And for those 2 units, we opened the lottery and received 22,000 applications, people attempting to buy 2 units that were new construction, that were 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. So the need is there. I feel like this application is fitting within the need of this county, and its proximity to the busway is particularly compelling for me. And so again, I thank the neighbors, I thank your advocacy, I thank your level of organization. I appreciate and I hear your voices, but on this one, I disagree. So I move to adopt consistent with staff's recommendations. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve pertaining to staff's recommendation. We have a second by Commissioner Gilbert, I think I heard, or Commissioner Higgins?
I'm happy to second.
Commissioner Higgins seconding it. Any further discussion on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners on this application? Vice Chairman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And to the residents, I actually had an opportunity to sit here and hear your concerns as it relates to this particular item. And like many of you, I've had a lot of consternation about supporting this item. And as a matter of fact, some of the representations that I've heard caused a lot of angst to the point where I began looking back through the material and questioning some of the representations that were made within the material. And your comments were spot on. You're going to have traffic issues. You're going to have issues dealing with infrastructure. There's going to be a misplacement of our animal species there. And there's going to be a possibility of a flood zone issue that would be raised. However, I am one who follows what the district commissioner wants because I understand how important it is to, this body to recognize and understand the wants and the representations of the district commissioner of that district. So with that said, and based upon these representation and based on what we've heard from the district commissioner, I'm inclined to follow the district commissioner's position on this particular item. So thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chair. And thank you,
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner. Yes, Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I do want to thank all the residents that came out today for voicing your opinion. When I was hearing from a lot of the residents, I'm not going to lie, I was inclined to deny this. But I do trust the sitting commissioner in that district that knows her district. There's still one thing, well, there's two things that are bothering me. And so the first thing is the traffic issue. And for that, I need to look at staff. What I'm worried about is the effects of traffic for that particular area. So can you give me some clarification on the traffic impacts? Was there a traffic study done here?
Yes, Commissioner, there was a traffic study. I'm going to see if we can get a representative from our transportation planning to help answer questions.
Good afternoon, Vinod Sandanasamy from RAR Planning, Transportation Planner. So a traffic study was done, and we reviewed about 10 roadway segments, and one roadway segment was failing in the short term, that is 264th Street. But we look at significance, which is, if the traffic is more than 5%, it's very significant, but this was not significant. Other than that, the other roads were functioning at the acceptable level of service.
And so this study was done relevant to 284 units, is that correct?
That's right.
And I don't know who can answer this question, whether staff can answer this question or whether the applicant can answer this question. But as far as the busway, I understand that this is within a couple of miles of the busway. So if I heard correctly, and I don't know if folks understand this because I'm going to come back to you for the traffic analysis, but if I'm understanding this correctly, this applicant would have the ability or the right to build 825 units if this is not approved. Is that correct?
They are located within the half mile of the busway, and as per the CDMP, they could request. They would still need to go through a rezoning process, but they could without an amendment to the CDMP, they could get 825 units.
825 units by right?
Yeah, so we'd still need to go through the zoning process. That's only looking at the CDMP.
Of course.
Right.
But by right, they would be able to build 825 units. What, now, In comparison,
The answer yes. Can you say that?
yeah, can you say that or can you not say that?
Per CDMP by right.
Per CDMP, they would be allowed to, in a mixed-use development, get 825 units without amending the CDMP. Without amending the CDMP.
Because 825 units, I mean, look, if this was 825 units, there's no way that I could get behind this. But if I'm understanding correctly, the applicant is proposing for 284 units.
That is correct.
And the study that was done, the traffic study that was done was relevant to the 284 units. Does it contemplate 825?
No, it's 284 units. It doesn't contemplate the higher intensity that you're talking about.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Commissioner, I need to add one more thing here. In the long term, we do a short-term and a long-term analysis. Short-term is 3 years from now.
Excuse me,
Long-
excuse me. That's not a question that was asked from the commissioner, so we're on the commissioner side now. Just hold on there if someone else has questions for you. Commissioner Gilbert.
I don't have a question for you. So this is interesting, and you're right. I have seen your arguments, and I've criticized you before, and so I'm very openly about that because I understand that we make these decisions about how housing develops, and we make them one at a time, but we never truly acknowledge the cumulative effect of our decisions on the market. And so when folks, and I was listening here, and then I was listening in my office because I'm a little under the weather, and my colleague is kind of hypochondriac sometimes. So I was listening in my office, and like I appreciate that you're going to feel that way. I do that, but the market is really basically simple. The housing market is really basically simple. It's supply and demand. It's the first day of economics. That's what it is. And so we make these votes and decisions individually, and it'll be responsive to, a lot of times, the effects and the arguments that residents come out and make, but we don't realize that we're actually affecting the entire market. So when we talk about it's not going to be affordable, it's because for decades we made decisions. We said, no, we're not going to change anything. And we affected the available supply. The only way to change that is to correct it one decision at a time, and that's what we're doing here. This is an extraordinary balance. Because obviously, as a board, as a county, we've determined that because of their proximity to transit, more should be built here. So when you look at what this commissioner's doing, what she's saying is, hey, it's not all that could be, but it's something that could help ease the general burden on the system. And so I appreciate that. I don't discount your concerns at all. Look, no one wants their house and their home and the place they grew up and they raised their children. No one wants it to change, but I promise you change is inevitable. It's just how you curate it. It's how you balance it. It's how you architect it in a way that still allows you to have a sense of community. And so I'm going to support this application. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Bermudez, you're recognized.
Yeah, I just have a couple questions. Thanks for everybody coming out and giving us their opinion, in particular the residents that live there. And this is maybe for staff more than anything else, because one of my concerns when I see residents, and I think rightly, point out, and change is inevitable, as Commissioner Gilbert says, but change also has to be something that respects traditional neighborhoods that have been around for a long time. And whether you grew up in Miami Gardens or Hialeah, you know that a visit to the Redlands was always, or the area down south, is something that makes this county unique. And we accepted a report about a year and a bit ago, and every application I see down south seems to be impacting those concepts that this commission said we want to in some way, shape, or form protect. When the only place where you can buy a larger parcel ends up being a municipality like a Pinecrest, you know, on the unincorporated side, I don't think not everybody wants to live in a townhouse. Not everybody wants to live in a condo. Not everybody wants to live in an urban area. So I think part of our responsibility in a county this large is to try to be able to make sure that there are options. This is a difficult decision because I agree, and as Commissioner Gonzalez said, I certainly was more inclined to probably say no because of what I heard. Obviously, staff has made recommendations. Mr. Gasant is smart enough to have a court reporter sitting right in front of him to make sure that whatever decision is made can be appealed if, in fact, staff made certain recommendations. My concern moving forward, and this is not necessarily a discussion I want to have today, is I don't think everybody has to live in a condo. I don't think everybody has to necessarily want to live in a townhouse. There's also, when you talk about single-family homes, and I know Mr. Gassan is going to say townhouses are also single-family homes. It's a product, but it's not the same. So that, to me, concerns me as we move forward and look at all these projects down south. There's two commissioners here that are commissioners of the two districts that are down south. I believe Commissioner Cohen-Higgins made a very strong argument for her reasoning to be supportive and acknowledge that it's a difficult decision for her as the commissioner of the district. And I respect that. And in fact, I've changed my mind because I do think, as Commissioner Gonzalez said, that you know, I win, and the vice chair said, I will be respectful of the commissioner of the district who knows her area. So I'll be supportive of it. But I have great concerns as we move forward and I'm going to say one other thing. Every one of these hearings now has people that don't live in the area who come and tell me that their kids, their grandkids need to have a place to live. I agree with it. I got 3 girls. I'd love them to stay here. They have to rent, okay? They can't, the one that got married has to rent. She can't afford to buy a house yet. But I just want to keep in mind, and this is more directed maybe to my 2 colleagues down south, moving forward, I want to ask before we even get here, are we going to protect some of the traditional neighborhoods in unincorporated Miami-Dade County? I don't understand, you know, every time we talk about the famous urban development boundary, which is something that was drawn 50 plus years ago and probably for the benefit of certain individuals, and somehow in this county we don't even want to discuss it because it's like a bad word. No other county in the state has it. So I just want to make sure, and this will be something I'd like to talk to you about. I'd like to get a real understanding of what we're going to do to protect some of the traditional neighborhoods in the unincorporated areas. I'm going to support the item because I'm going to support the commissioner of the district. She made a logical argument, and she knows her area best. But moving forward, in particular on these projects that are near our quickly shrinking agrarian areas, if not, then let's just say, hey, let's acknowledge that we don't want to protect the agrarian area. If that's what it's going to be, just say it. If that's what the planners of this county are suggesting, just say it. And I'm always flummoxed and flabbergasted that the planners don't want to discuss the urban development boundary openly with everyone, including the owners of the agrarian area. But we take these applications one by one. We have to hear from neighbors that have been there for years and have to, face change maybe. That's okay, face change. But you know what? They have a right to their opinion too. And they moved here because that's what they felt was going to be what they were going to have. It's like the argument of let's put all the, we've got so much industrial inside the UDB. Yeah, well, but it's scattered here, and there. And people that own properties can't actually go ahead and do something, even on the industrial side, because we have this, but then we have jails and we have concrete companies, we have all sorts of things beyond that boundary. So I'm going to support it, Commissioner Cohen-Higgins, because I respect that it's your district, and I feel that you know your district best. But I want you and our colleague, Commissioner McGee, who are the ones that really are facing probably, I'm not going to say 100%, but a large part of these very difficult decisions. I would hope that we look to see what we can do to protect the agrarian area moving forward and the traditional neighborhoods.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Gilbert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. I think that's a worthy exercise. I'd love to engage in an exercise with you. I just want us to add a topic because, you know, one of the things that we did yesterday is we set the UMSA millage. And we kept it flat, and I appreciate that. But we don't acknowledge the connections between the decisions we make here in CDMP and zoning to the decisions that we made yesterday. Because UMSA is, in fact, underwater. Like, we artificially keep that millage low, and the reason why is that we artificially keep everything the same, but we can't afford to provide services there. So we can have as many conversations as we want about protecting the traditional, like nothing has to change. The only thing that I am certain will have to change if nothing has to change is the millage rate. Because if we're speaking the truth on all of these, the interconnected nature of these issues, it's that we've suppressed UMSA millage for decades. And it's at a point now where we can't afford to do that anymore. And we're still doing it. One of the things that actually solves that is actually allowing more development, sensible development in those areas. And so when we have those conversations, let's just connect those conversations. Let's connect all the dots. Let's say that when we say don't build, just by necessity, just because the sheriff's going to still want to pay the officers that patrol the area, that we're going to have to actually increase the millage at some point. Because if you have fewer people, they have to pay more. That, again, is basic math. It's just basic math.
Mr. Chair, just one comment, because I concur with...
You're recognized, Commissioner Bermudez.
Thank you so much, Chair. I concur with Commissioner Gilbert, but one thing, if we're going to be talking about that, then let's talk openly about all these issues. UMSA is the largest city in Miami-Dade County. It is a entity. It's not called a city, but it's almost half of the county, a little bit less now. So the conversation of what this government's supposed to do, regional services, at some point must be had. Then let's talk about incorporating all Miami-Dade County. Is that the best way to deliver services? So if we're going to have that conversation, at some point we should have that. It shouldn't be, because our goal should be to deliver the best services possible. The county of the north is a regional government. They're almost fully incorporated with a exception of a very small. I'm open to discussion on increasing the millage rate, but I also want to be open to having a frank discussion about what should be the best structure. Maybe in 1960, the best structure was a metropolitan form of government, because before that it wasn't, by the way. So let's have that discussion, and maybe we won't have to have. What I'm saying is, if we are going to stay as the largest city in Miami-Dade County, and we are going to argue that we need to make sure that we provide different types of housing for the individuals that make up that portion, then let's also take into consideration historic neighborhoods and other areas that are unincorporated, primarily in District 8 and 9. There's others. I'm not going to say there aren't others. And let's also respect the fact that some of these neighborhoods have a history.
Commissioner from District 2, who has not had an opportunity yet, then the Vice Chair, then the District Commissioner.
Thank you so much. Thank you for a wonderful presentation. I like your passion. Like the other commissioners, when I was listening to the residents presenting, those who supported it because it's truly affordable, I was wondering, is it truly affordable? Because we're talking about workforce housing. And then for workforce, for one person, they have to make at least from 69,000, at least $69,000. So my question was, how many of those people who came to support claiming that they support it because it is affordable. So my question to you, and then when you made the presentation, and then you made you make the comparison between renting and buying, I said, oh, well, it makes sense. It would make sense for me to buy versus to rent. So the question I have for you is, how affordable is it? The figure that you presented to buy, does it include like tax, insurance? What is?
Let's talk about it. I think it's a great question. The figure that I talked about, and you're talking about the monthly rent that I showed, about $2,700. That shows the principal, taxes, and interest. So this is not the first project that they've actually gotten approved. They've actually built houses like this. They've built homes that are in the infill program. They built homes that they bought spotlight lots and committed to in the workforce housing program. You may have heard one of the neighbors who came up here talked about a home that she bought from Bluenest, and that she had been searching for 10 years for a home, and this was the first home that she could buy. And so when we talk about the affordability, we're not talking about this in theory. We're talking about this from a perspective of a developer who has actually done it from the spot lots and now is doing it on a greater scale. And so the affordability that we talked about, the rents do include the principal, the taxes, and the insurance, and that's what we showed as part of our presentation. Those are included within the monthly rent numbers, the monthly payment numbers that we have.
What was that again?
Pardon?
What was?
It was $4,500.
So
no, $2,800. Sorry, for the monthly payments.
Everything was included.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Because my concern was, I don't want people to think that it's going to be affordable. When we're talking about workforce, we have to be clear that workforce means that you have to make at least if you earn like for very low income, you have to earn at least 43,000, right? Low to medium income, you have to earn at least 69,400 a year. So for 100% of AMI, they have to earn at least 86,000. For 120%, they have to earn 104,000 plus. And for 140%, they have to earn at least 121,000, per AMI. So I wanted to make sure that people understood, like when we're talking affordable, when we're talking about affordability, what it exactly means. Of course, I'm going to support and the commissioner of the district, but people need to understand when we talk about affordable what it really means. So thank you for the presentation, and thank you to all the residents. Oh my God, I'm truly impressed. On both sides, people make time to come and make their voices heard, and that we encourage that. And just like that, the commissioner of the district indicated, it takes really courage to come, and then you take time out of your work to come. I think this is really commendable. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Vice Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Look, I just want to comment on the setup of our millage rate as it relates to the unincorporated area in the South in particular. Look, and I consider myself, and I take pride in being son of the South, right? I went to South Day Senior High School, Redland Middle School, and Naranja Elementary. So these particular areas we're talking about primarily in the unincorporated areas, I know these areas all too well. I've played on those playgrounds, walked those streets, driven on those roads, drank the water, swam in the canals, and done other things in that area. What I can say, and I fully understand exactly where Commissioner Bermudez was coming from, and I do fully believe a conversation needs to be had. It's not so much that the folk in the South Day District don't want to pay taxes. It's just that the folk in the South Dade District understand that for so long we've been shafted. We've been told that services would come, and we've waited 20, 30, 40 years in most cases for services that never showed up. More years than not, the folk of the South have always been promised that Superman and Wonder Woman would be there for us in the form of infrastructure, in the form of better housing, in the form of better quality of life. But I can tell you now, as a person who was actually born in Naranja, which is an unincorporated Dade, and also a person who actually bought a house 4 blocks away from where I was born in Naranja, an unincorporated Dade, I can tell you absolutely nothing has really changed in that community as it relates to having priorities when it comes down to infrastructure, when it comes down to quality of life, when it comes down to being able to be on the same par as other areas that are incorporated. We do the best we can down there. We do have F roads. We do have poor infrastructure because it hasn't been touched, and the administration has made this known time and time again. And I do believe the reason why there is a resistance to raising the millage in the unincorporated area is because the people in the unincorporated area also understand that the monies that we are paying into this general pot more often than not don't come back to our area to represent us in the way that we know we need to be represented. So I'm all for this conversation of looking at the largest municipality, which is AMSA, and possibly looking at some changes so that we can have parity with other areas. And I think this is a great opportunity based on what we're hearing, Commissioner Bermudez and Commissioner Gilbert. We should start having these conversations. And again, maybe the millage rate has been suppressed for so long that it has caused irreparable damage, and that we really need to address and create a different system to make sure that the people of the South feel as if they're part of the grand system, which is all of Miami-Dade County. So those are my comments as it relates to the millage. And again, that's my position. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. Commissioner from the district.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to my colleagues for your comments and for your feedback. Commissioner Bermudez, your points are very well taken. We convened a charrette not long ago, the first in 20 years in the Redland, to ask exactly that question. Do you want some sort of formal protection placed on the Redland, i.e. to restrict development in certain areas and to create a geographical barrier, i.e. this ag land is not going to be touched, in addition to the urban development boundary? That was asked, that was pulled, that was circulated, and there was no consensus. The prevailing consensus of the group was we don't want impediment to our property rights, i.e. should I decide to sell in the future, I don't want a CDMP or any kind of a zoning overlay that would somehow prohibit or make that more difficult for me in the future. So I am open to having those conversations, and if you have specific ideas, I'm certainly welcome to them, but I wanted to share with you that we had a charrette on this particular issue not long ago, and that was the result of the same. I have nothing further, Mr. Chair, and again, I thank my colleagues for sticking around for their comments and for their engagement.
Thank you, Commissioner. Madam Attorney, do you have anything to add into the record?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I just want to restate the motion, particularly with the change. It would be to approve per staff recommendation with the change to the proffered covenant in paragraph 2 to revise the first line to say 100% of the dwelling units would be designated as for sale units with up to 140% WHU of the area median income. Then an additional line. In addition, 20% of the dwelling units shall be income restricted per the county's workforce housing program. I just wanted to confirm I understood that correctly. And then with the condition to provide revised and re-executed legally sufficient CDMP and zoning covenants, joinders, and opinion of title within 10 days of or the CDMP application is deemed withdrawn.
Thank you. With that, clerk.
So I believe that's generally correct. I just want to make sure that the first line is clear, that it's on the maximum sales price is capped at the workforce housing sales price for 100% of the units, and at 20%. If that's what your intent is, Abby, then I'm fine with it.
Pedro, I think for the first sentence, it would just be replacing 20% with 100%. Is that the understanding? So it would read 100% of the dwelling units shall be designated as for sale units to households whose annual income is up to 140% WHU of the area median income AMI of Miami-Dade County, period.
Okay, no, that's fine. And then the second sentence would be that 20% of the units would be capped at the income limits for housing.
Yeah, I have, would be, shall be income restricted per the county's workforce housing
Beautiful.
program? Okay.
Beautiful. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Okay, all right, clerk. You have a, Commissioner?
So, okay, the first sentence says that they're all income constricted, that it's 100% at the price. But does it, I just want to make sure we're not saying, it sounded like the first system said that 100% were income constricted at 140% below, but you're just using that as the measure of the amount they can charge. Is that correct?
That's correct, Commissioner. My understanding is the first sentence, it's not saying that 100% will be in the workforce housing program. It's just that they would be sold at a cap.
Okay,
of
all right. Thank you for the clarification. Appreciate it. Sorry for the interruption.
Absolutely, thank you, Commissioner. With that, seeing no additional unreadiness, clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Bastian,
Yes.
Commissioner Bermudez, Commissioner Cohen-Higgins,
Four.
Senator Garcia. Was that a no?
Did you need it louder?
Commissioner Gilbert, Commissioner Gonzalez,
4.
Commissioner Higgins,
Yes.
Commissioner Millian Orbis, Commissioner Regalado,
No.
Commissioner Steinberg, Vice Chairman McGee,
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez.
I vote yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
11 to 1.
Chair, thank you, Commissioner of the
So this
District.
item passed. Now, oh, not so fast.
Sorry, 10 to 2.
All right, we have, Madam Attorney, we have to take up now the companion item, which is 8C8. If
Yes.
the director needs to read anything into the record at this time, we're good? All right, with that, Commissioner from District 8. Commissioner from District 8, I know you've been in your chair for many hours, but you need to make a motion to the companions. All right, it's been moved by Commissioner from District 8. This is just a companion item. Public hearing has been had already for 3 hours. So
I
do
move the
we have a
companion
motion
zoning item.
per staff recommendation and per all the additions. It's been moved. It's been seconded by Commissioner Gilbert. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Bermudez, Commissioner Cohen-Higgins,
Yes.
Senator Garcia, Commissioner Gilbert, Commissioner Gonzalez,
4.
Commissioner Higgins,
Yes.
Commissioner Millian Orbis, Commissioner Regalado,
No.
Commissioner Steinberg, Commissioner Bastian,
Yes.
Vice Chairman McGee,
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez.
I vote yes.
Motion passes 10 to 2.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner
All
of
right.
the District. Thank you, Chairman.
Congratulations. Mr. or Madam Attorney, actually, can we take up item 4A and 4A supplement and 4A1? And if the director needs to read anything into the record at this time, it would be appropriate.
Yes, we